Hello, this is Jeff Rice introducing the latest enhancement of our core report M1211 Core Individual Attendance Records. Now we're on version 2.6 for this release. The first thing you're going to notice, we've grouped all the filters into sections, each with their own header. Each header has a who tag on it or a what tag. A who tag indicates these filters allow you to define who you want to see on the report, who's going to be returned. The what tag allows you to control what is going to be displayed about each of the people returned on the report. So we have the report title, which is a what thing. Return having attendance allows you to specify what do you want to see attendance for. Which activity type campuses, which ministries, which activities, which schedules. That's a new option in this report. Hey, I can specify to just specific schedules of an activity. Activity RLC group attendance, room location class attendance, and breakout group attendance. So if they've attended any of these options or selections, they will be returned on the report. You have the time period as before. Come on down to display attendance grid. We've added some new things here. First off is that we don't have to display the attendance grid at all. Maybe you just want a listing of people that actually attended your event. I want to see some information about them, but I don't need that big attendance grid to the right. Great, you can turn that off right here. Next are the page break options. We've added do not page break, which allows you to see attendance across multiple activities and multiple ministries all on the same sheet. Before, the minimum we had was page break by activity. Now you can rank them all together on one page. We also added the activity schedule page break. So if I have an activity that's occurring in the spring and the fall, or it's recurring over time, then I can get each one of those schedules on its own page if I need to do that. Then we have activity group we had before. We've also added in activity schedule and room location combination. This allows you to make a true class roster type of output. So for every room, every service time, I want that on its own page. That's what this page break allows you to do. Some very powerful improvements here. Coming on down, we still have the same fields to output in terms of activity, name fields, address, none of that changed. We did add a few options in individual fields to display. We included a tag comment. We had that requested by ticket. Hey, if this person has a tag comment, display that. And lastly is an X checkbox. This would be used if you're trying to use this output of the report as a checkoff roster as people enter the door. And then later you'd go back and do post attendance inside the portal. We've also added attributes to display. So you can choose which attributes you'd like to see about each person attending your event. So I can choose a group, come down, choose an attribute, and then those attributes then will be displayed on the report. If the person has an attribute, then it's going to display a date underneath the attribute beside the person's name. The date will either be the end date if that exists for the attribute. If there is no end date, it will display the start date for the attribute. If there is no start date, it will display the created date, the date the attribute was created. So depending on what date you're storing, it should automatically give you a date if the person has that attribute. And that's it for the major changes. The rest of the items down here below are exactly the same, except we have put them into sections, each with a who and what tag. Yeah, the rest of this is exactly the same. So let's take a look at some of the output. I want to start off with a classic roster by RLC and schedule. So for every room, every service time, give me a roster of kids, a roster of people. So I come down here. I've chosen select all campuses, children's ministry, Sunday morning, all hours. I have 2 hours here. RLC group, everything, all classes, all attendance ranges. I put in my date range. I'm displaying a by date, and I'm breaking on schedule and RLC. Outputting the staffing job for any teachers and some basic information as well as some attributes. So that output looks like this. We have on the first page, you see, first thing we see, you have lots of sheets down here, so we have one for every class and service time. At the top here we have our header, our user-defined header, plus the dates, the ministry, the schedule, the RLC. You notice we've also included some metrics on this version. We first tell you how many unique individuals we have on this sheet that we're looking at, 65 in total. We've also included the average number of people that attended each time this RLC, schedule, activity, and ministry occurred. So for the date range that I put in for the report, there's 6 instances. I add up all these things and average across all 6, and I've got 23.7 people attending on average. In addition to the count, we've also added a percentage attendance. So individually, I can see that Lizzie here have attended this event 50% of the times that actually was offered. And you can go all the way up and down, and then we also have a total attendance rate for everyone that's on this sheet. The date of baptism was our attribute that we included there, and the header in general just shows you what was on this sheet. You notice our participants are in red and at the top now sorted alphabetically by job and then by name. This should help identify the people that are working your event separate from the people in black which are the participants. Here's the X checkbox what I was talking about, and the rest of this is pretty much the same. So if I look at sheet number 2, you can see we've changed rooms here, the same hour. Again, scroll back and forth, you can see that. Sheet 3, pre-K room, so forth, and you see the unique number of individuals changing and the average of people attending changes. We've added the tag comment, as I mentioned there. Very powerful improvement. So for our second example, I want to see all of our first and second time visitors for anywhere in the church that occurred last weekend. So I have my title. I come on down and I select everything, every campus, every ministry, every activity, every schedule, all the way down until I put in my date range for last Sunday. I'm displaying by date, and I'm not going to page break on anything. I want it all together on one sheet so I can see the first and second time for everything. I include some information about them. So here's the output. We have 19 individuals for everybody. Here's all the names, information I've included. You would have your contact information. So here we have the first and the second attendance date. Since I've included both types of attendance, if any time the first attendance was the date that I was searching for, we know that's the first time they attended something in your church last weekend. If that same date appears in the second attendance column, then we know that's the second time they attended something in your church last weekend. And then we actually have the dates. We have one column for every activity. It's all kind of jumbled up because I only have one date here. But up here in the header you can see what the names are. So this is the activity they attended, and you have the metrics, which don't mean a lot in this case. But this allows me to be able to see who my first and second time attenders are. So if I want to reach out to them or call them, or I could produce this to a temporary group and see who was the first attenders in the date range I specified for anything that's going on in the church. Very powerful. So for our third example, I want to display attendance to an activity that has semesters in it. Okay, so each schedule becomes a different point in time: fall, spring, 2011 versus 2010, this type of thing. And I want to be able to see who attended what in each one of the semesters. So in this example, I've come down and chosen community life, a premarital class, which had occurred 3 different times in the past. Great, I wanted to choose all of those. And then I get down to here, I'm going to page break on schedule, so I get each schedule on its own page. And then the output looks like this. At the top we have the dates we're interested in, we have the ministry, we have the schedule I'm looking at, and then we have the names of the people that attended that premarital class. We come all the way across, and we have a date of the wedding. That was an attribute I included. Then we have all the dates of the class that had occurred, and then we see our counts and metric totals. Then the next schedule, which was in 2009, spring 2009 schedule, here are the names of the people, all the way across. My attribute, when they wed, come on down, my newest one in 2010, names of the people, and so forth. So this gives you a very powerful way to be able to put all the people that attended on a certain scheduled time on its own page. Of course, you can combine that with the filter itself and say, I only want to see maybe the most recent schedule. For my fourth example, I wanted to be able to show all the people that were serving in a particular event and show some attributes about those people. I don't care about attendance per se. I just want to see that someone actually attended and served, but I don't need to see the grid. So we come down, I said, for my children's ministry on Sunday morning, give me everyone that served in this date range for last weekend, let's say. Don't display the attendance grid, and page break on activity, which I only have the one in this selection, but you could break them up into pages. And then I said, show me some information about them. I chose some attributes to display, and then my additional filters, I said, only give me the staff and the volunteers. So the output shows me all my workers in red that worked in the children's ministry in this date range, 57 unique individuals. I output some information about them. I show their staffing job all the way up and down. Come all across, and then I have these spiritual gifts things that I'm looking at. So I wanted to see what spiritual gift attributes we have on file for them and what date those were tagged for each one of my workers. Very powerful. And then of course I'm not burdened down with having to have that grid on here. So it gives you a cool way just to say, hey, show me everyone that's working. On the flip side of that, my last example is, hey, just show me the people that attended. I don't need a bunch of information about it. Just show me all the name, address, phone number of the people that attended my event. Great. So I have an attended roster here. I said, the men's ministry, men's retreat, show me all the guys that attended that. I came all the way down, selected everything. I said, I don't need the grid, but page break on RLC, because I have 2 different men's things in these RLCs right here. The Lodge at Buckberry Creek and Windy Gap Retreat Center. Also looks like they had broken up into breakout groups by, I guess, the kind of thing they wanted to engage in on the men's retreat, either fly fishing or golf. And so I displayed that out as a breakout group as the output. So here we have a list of guys. On this date, this ministry, here was the RLC. They went to the Windy Gap Retreat Center. The 91 guys. Came all the way down. Here's the name, contact, address. Real simple. Nothing else. I come all the way down. Here's the ones with the fly fishing and the golf breakouts. Very powerful. Real simple. So I'm hopeful that 1211 will really work for you, even more powerful than it did before. That's the highlights. Try out all the filters on this report to experience the full power of this thing. I welcome any ideas that would increase the value of this report to your team. Just post them to this blog. My mission is to serve you better via these core reports because we have heard you, and I'm still listening.